Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Chapter 7. Kabir and his Guru. Once Kabir went to the bazaar with a veena in his hand and sang the praises of God in his sweet voice. He brought to his imagination the form of Sri Ram and sang with a heart full of love. His mind had discarded desires, affections, honor, and pride. He also put aside egoism and the thought of I and you. There was a grocer's wife in the bazaar who was sitting and grinding. When the Bhakta Kabir saw her grinding, his heart was overcome with emotion. He stood there and wept aloud. The men and women in the bazaar, seeing him do this, laughed and wondered why he did so. Some of them asked Kabir, "Why are you crying here? Who has been giving you trouble? Please tell us." But he would not reply to any of them, for he thought to himself, "These people cannot remove my sorrow." The people said to one another, "Kabir has gone crazy. He is crying for no reason." Just then a sadhu named Nipat Niranjan happened to come there. He at once said to Kabir, "Why are you manifesting such grief?" When Kabir opened his eyes and looked, he saw an ocean of knowledge before him. Kabir thought to himself, "If I tell him the truth, he will remove at least a part of my trouble." Thus thinking to himself, Bhakta Kabir spoke as follows, "O good Guru, my heart is full of repentance. As I saw the mill being turned, I saw the grains of wheat turn into flour. Same is my condition. I have fallen between the millstones of this earthly existence. Therefore I am seized with fear and I have manifested this violent grief. Who besides you can remove the sorrows of this earthly existence?" Nipat said to him, "Why do you mourn in vain? It is only when you discard the central prop and wander about that you become the flour in the mill of Kal, that is death. Just as the grain in the mill adhering to the central prop is not turned to flour, so those who are devoted to the worship of Sri Ram are not caught in the cycle of birth and death. You are courageous on account of your righteousness and indifferent to earthly things. You are a mountain of peace and forgiveness. When you see fearsome things in a dream, why do you in vain fear them?" Hearing him say this, Kabir was awakened to the truth, and the two embraced one another with feelings of love. These noble Vaishnavas made loving namaskars to one another and then returned to their hermitage. Then one day, Kabir thought to himself, "If one does not have a guru while in this earthly existence, he should be called a man without life. It is useless to have a domestic life without a wife and a home without children. This human body has experienced many rebirths in vain if it has not had a good guru. So, I must go with feelings of reverence as a suppliant to the sannyasi Swami Ramananda." Having decided this in his mind, he remained with that determination. So Kabir went to Ramanand's hermitage and said in a soft, sweet voice, "As a lowly and helpless one, I stand at your door. Please give me your reassurance and satisfy my desire." But Ramanand said to Kabir, "You were born in a Mohammedan family. I have therefore no authority whatever to give you instruction." Kabir replied, "I have made a determination to come to your feet. I have not spared body, speech, or mind in doing so." One day while sitting alone, Kabir thought to himself, "I must hear the sound of Ram's name from the lips of my Swami. What method shall I adopt that the dust of his feet may cling to me?" So he dug a ditch in the path and laid down in it. Just as the chatak bird, who is exceedingly thirsty, longs for a cloud, so the Bhakta Kabir lay in the ditch waiting for his Guru. Now Swami Ramanand was on his way to bathe in the river Ganga. As he was rapidly walking, his foot touched Kabir and he exclaimed, "Ram, Ram! Whom has my foot touched?" The Bhakta Kabir, having heard him say this, stood up and said, "You, Swami, have done me a great favor today. Your feet accidentally touched my forehead and I heard the mantra, Ram, Ram. I see no one as fortunate as myself in all the three worlds. All the good deeds that I may have committed during my infinite number of rebirths have now fructified. Today birth and death have ceased for me through the touch of the feet of my Guru." So Kabir, with his heart full of intense joy, danced before Swami Ramanand. Swami Ramanand smiled, astonished at what was taking place. He kept silence, however, and went on to perform his part, saying to himself, I have never seen anyone as determined as Kabir. I will assume an outward anger and test Kabir's mind. On a certain day, Kabir went to the bazaar and was singing and dancing with joy. Ramanand heard him from a distance. He took off his wooden sandals and said angrily to Kabir, You call yourself my disciple without any reason for it? When did I give you instructions? What witness have you employed to prove that you are my disciple? Tell me. So saying, he struck Kabir on his head with his sandal, just as a mother outwardly manifests anger to her child. So, in order to test the determination of Kabir, Ramanand struck him on his head with his sandal. Blood flowed freely, but Kabir was full of joy. Kabir said, When you gave me the instructions that made me your disciple, there was no witness present. Therefore, Swami, you could treat me with contempt. But now in the presence of everyone, you gave my head a blow with your sandal. That act proclaims to the people that everyone should know that I am your disciple. I have appointed as my witness water, earth, air, space, light, and God, that I have placed my service at your feet. Swami Ramanand was pleased. He went up to Kabir and placed his hand on his head, saying, Seeing your determination, you have passed my test. Now, constantly repeat the mantra Ram Krishna and sing their praise day and night. As the Sadguru said these things, Kabir became full of joy, and composing verses of various kinds, he sang the goodness of Sri Ram. Putting aside all wrong desires, all hopes for popular honor, putting aside all sensual desires, putting aside the pride of knowledge, he continuously sang God's praises. With this we end part 2 of Kabir and his Guru. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.